for the sources box, click the plus button and then click text GDI. Name it something easy to remember, because if you're going to be adding a few of these different labels, you don't want to be getting mixed up as to which one is which. So let's do the recent follower, and we're just going to name it recent follower. Now we can play around with the font and colour and size in just a second, but first things first, let's get OBS actually reading the file. So if you select the checkbox next to read from file and then click browse and navigate to the folder that you set up earlier, then you'll want to find the text file that corresponds to the thing that you're wanting to see. If you select just a second, but first things first, now we can play around with the font, a few of these different labels. You don't want to be getting mixed up as to which one is which. So let's do the recent follower, and we're just going to name it recent follower. Now we can play around with the font and colour and size in just a second, but first things first, let's get OBS actually reading the file. So if you select the checkbox next to read from file and then click browse and navigate to the folder that you set up earlier. Now we can play around with those. If you're going to then click text GDI. Name it something easy to remember, because if you're going to be adding a few of these different labels, you don't want to be getting mixed up as to which one is which. These sources to appear and then click text GDI. Name it something easy to remember, because if you're going to be adding a few of these different labels, you don't want to be getting mixed up as to which one is which. So let's do the recent follower, and we're just going to name it recent follower. Now we can play around with the font and colour and size in just a second, but first things first, let's get OBS actually reading the file. So if you select the checkbox next to read from file and then click browse and navigate to the folder that you set up earlier, then you'll want to find the text file that corresponds to the thing that you're wanting to add in. So for us that was recent follower. We find it here, select it and press open. Now that we can see it's reading the file correctly, let's press select font to recognize the font that we're using and also to change the size. Now like I've said in a number of different videos on OBS, you want to be changing the font size here rather than later on when you get the red box around your text and dragging it, because that will create jagged edges. It doesn't scale the text properly if you drag the corners. So you want to always be coming back into the font properties and adjusting the font size here if you need it larger or smaller. Next we can change things like the font color or gradient if you want more than one color, as well as the background color and the opacity of both the text and the background. Finally we can change the alignment if you want to, but for me I'm just going to leave these options as they are and press OK. Now if we look at the top left of our OBS preview window, we can see the red box, maybe with some text in the middle if we've already got a recent follower, and we can now drag that around to wherever we want to position it within our stream. As always, make sure that you're looking down at the sources window and making sure that this text is above any gameplay or webcams or overlays that you want the text to program. Beta and in the software. There's follower alerts, donation alerts, different types of text files you can generate. Please do give it a thumbs up, and subscribers,
everybody gets high sometimes, you know. What else can we do when we're feeling low? So take a deep breath and let it go. You shouldn't be drowning on your own. And if you feel you're sinking, I will jump right over into cold, cold water for you. And although time may take us into different places, I will still be patient.
what's up OBS? You want to be changing the font size here rather than later on when you get the red box around your text and dragging it, because that will create jagged edges. It doesn't scale the text properly if you drag the corners. So you want to always be coming back into the font properties and adjusting the font size here if you need it larger or smaller. Next we can change things like the font color or gradient if you want more than one color, as well as the background color and the opacity of both the text and the background. Finally we can change the alignment if if you want to, but for me I'm just going to leave these options as they are and press OK. Now if we look at the top left of our OBS preview window, we can see the red box, maybe with some text in the middle if we've already got a recent follower, and we can now drag that around to wherever we want to position it within our stream. As always, make sure that you're looking down at the sources window and making sure that this text is above any gameplay or webcams or overlays that you want the text to appear above. Now all we need to do is repeat that same process for any other labels that we want to add to our stream. And one thing that's really worth mentioning is that you need to have stream labels open and running whenever you're streaming and you want these labels to appear, because the software actually needs to be running to generate the updates to these text files. So if you don't have it running, it's not going to update the text files, and therefore they're just going to have the most recent follower from when you last had the program running. Another quick tip is in the stream labels software, you can see you have this restart session button at the top. A lot of the text files that you can generate are based around streaming sessions. So if you want to see the top donator of the day or of the streaming session, then you can actually click here to restart the session, let's say if you're streaming multiple times in the day. So if you want the biggest donator of this stream, you might need to restart the session if you haven't restarted the software. The stream label software also allows you to repeat any alerts that didn't show properly on your stream for whatever reason, as well as skip certain alerts. Let's say you notice that somebody's abusing the text-to-speech bot or something like that, you can then use this software to skip the alerts. So if you haven't yet checked out my other video that I previously did on how to add alerts, like follower alerts, donation alerts, subscriber alerts, then this software also helps manage that kind of stuff whilst you are streaming. Hopefully you found this video helpful and you have a great looking stream now with some labels included. Let me know down in the comments below which label you guys are using the most often. So there's a huge list of the different types of text files you can generate. I'd be really interested to know which ones you guys are using for your streams. As always, if
I didn't see his health because until I took already back mid. Also, you missed the bomb, Ivy?
free to use even if you want to monetize it with adverts. That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. I'm Pete from the Gaming Career for your videos. First, it's worth explaining a little bit about what royalty-free and copyright-free really mean. Now, I'm hoping that most of you know you can't just take a song from your iTunes library, something from the top 10, put it into your video and upload it to YouTube. What will happen is YouTube's clever algorithm will scan it. It's called Content ID. It will scan your video for any copyright infringement, and if it matches with something in its database, then it will mark your video. Once your video has been marked, the copyright owners, not YouTube, but the copyright owners will be able to decide what they want to do with your video, and it comes down to a choice of 4 different things. 1, they could mute your video and then you just have a video without any audio on at all. 2, they could block your video and then it wouldn't be available anywhere on YouTube and a strike would be added to your account. If you get multiple of these strikes, then YouTube can shut down your account and all videos on it. 3, they could monetize the video. Now, it doesn't matter how much work you put into the video. You could have had fancy graphics and 3D effects and all this kind of stuff, but if you use their track, they can choose to monetize the video. So the adverts that run on that video, the money goes to them and not to you. Not ideal. 4, they can track your video, which basically means that they can look at all the statistics for your video and then at a later date decide to implement one of the other 3 restrictions. Now I know what you're thinking, none of those options sound ideal at all, which is exactly why we need to be using royalty-free or copyright-free music in all of your videos. Now my last bit of advice, just before we get onto the list of the 10 places where you can get this music from, is that you have to be a little bit careful about where you're going to get the music from, just purely because technically the creator of the music still holds the copyright license, and they can change their opinion as to what they allow for that music to be used on whenever they like. So the 10 that I'm going to give you today are trusted websites and trusted YouTube channels. I've used music from all 10 sources, and that's why I feel comfortable recommending it to you. It is worth noting here, I'm not a lawyer, and it is always worth doing your own research to make sure that the track that you're going to be using is free for you to use and to advertise on. If you're ever in doubt, err on the side of caution and just find another track. Now the 10 different websites that I'm going to be talking to you about fall into 3 main categories. Firstly, there's free music, as in you can get it for free and use it. The second is individual purchases, so you find a track that you want to use in a video and you purchase a license just for that track. And the third is a subscription-based service where you pay a monthly fee and you can use any of the songs from the catalogue as many times as you want. I'm going to briefly talk about each website as well as giving a little short sample of some of the music that they have on their website. And I've got links to every single website that I talk about in order in the description below. So check that out if any of these websites take your fancy. First up is the official YouTube audio library. This is a free resource provided by YouTube that you can get to if you log into your account and click the Create tab in your dashboard. Now I know what you're thinking, all of this music is rubbish, but that's probably because you haven't looked through it since it was released many years ago. The library itself has gotten lots bigger and legitimately has some good tracks in there for you to find, download and use in your video. Let's have a listen to a random track in the library. This one is called Heavy by Huma Huma. A monthly subscription fee, which is currently around £10 per month if you're in the UK, and you can use any of their music completely royalty free. It's also worth noting that if you're partnered with a separate network, easily brand individual Now the last 6 places to find copyright-free music that I use are all YouTube channels that are solely dedicated to providing royalty-free music. I've picked my favourite 6 channels which also cover a wide spectrum of genres. One of the main questions I get on my channel is where do I get my intro and outro music from? Argofox is the answer. Argofox, in my opinion, is one of the best YouTube channels for electronic dance or house music, by Render. Next up we have the Audio Library No Copyright Music channel, and as you'll see later in this video, these channel names don't get any better. This channel is one of the more popular channels on YouTube, having over 1,000 videos and 200,000 subscribers at the time of making this video. They cover a few more genres, including some more chilled out and generally uplifting music. I haven't used them for a little while, but listening to some of their recent uploads, they still sound very decent. Here's one that I've got saved to use in an upcoming video called Those Nights by DJ Quads. Chucky Music is relatively new but rapidly growing hip-hop instrumentals channel. How have I got this far into the video and not mentioned no copyright sounds? NCS is a 9 million subscriber strong YouTube channel with uploads in various genres such as house, dubstep, trap and drum and bass. Their most popular upload, Fade by Alan Walker, has 200 million views and has honestly been featured in so many videos now I can't imagine anyone in the gaming world hasn't heard it. And it's another fairly new library which covers many different genres of music. For example, they have playlists for romantic, inspirational and dramatic moods, as well as playlists for classical, rock, cinematic and dance music. So if you need a certain genre or mood of music, here would be a good place to start. Let's listen to one of the more epic field tracks, Are You With Us by
Team does drama on gaming footage.
Link to the specific page in the video description that shows you all of the copyright owners that I reached out to and what their answers.
$1 for your video.
What's up guys, I'm Pete from the Gaming Careers YouTube channel. We're a channel dedicated to helping you grow your Twitch or YouTube gaming channels so you can make a profession out of your gaming passion. Today we're going to be talking about how you can remove background noise from your voiceovers. Now if you have background noise in your audio recordings already because you live on a busy street, there's a lot of car noise going past, or maybe you have to have a fan on in your room, or maybe you just have a beast computer that has a really loud fan, and you can always hear that in your audio recordings. Today I'm going to be teaching you how with free software you can remove that background noise so you can just hear the crystal clear voice. Now, you may be thinking that high quality audio doesn't really matter as long as your video looks good, but actually I find the opposite is true. If you go and have a look at your favourite streamers or YouTube channels, I guarantee that they'll probably have on par audio quality with their video quality, if not higher. So what I'll be covering in this video is I am going to turn on some of the fans that I have in my room, create a kind of noisy environment and take an audio recording. Then I'm going to jump onto the computer and I'm going to show you in Audacity how I can remove that background noise. So it'll be a live example as to how I've removed the noisy fans from my recording so that you can do the same at home. Before we jump into Audacity, as you can,
what's up with mentioning only one option that needs changing, and I'll be the folder, you little note art displays preference back and edit them. Have and do for that is, but it's completely up to you, much larger amount. To fix this, what we want to do is edit the filter on our scrolling text and set a maximum width that it can occupy. So to jump back into the filter properties, right click in the text source and select filters again. Make sure that you have the scroll effect filter selected and then check the box to limit the width and enter a value for the width that you'd like to set. So for me that's 350. Now if we go back to the preview window of OBS, we can see that no matter which track we have playing, it always occupies the same amount of space. So if it's a short name, it will be repeated. This is why I personally recommend having 2 spaces after the artist name in Snip. It doesn't bunch together too much on the longer artists. And that's it guys, I hope you have L with the U open, and then I'm going to do the track name without the What's up guys, recent follower. What is up guys? Scene is a collection of sources that appear on screen together. So a source is the first thing that you need to make sure that you have is your video game running on your computer. When you're in your video game, it's worth just quickly looking at your game